Hey there students, so in this video I'm going to show you 3 things you can do in your creative writing to transform your results quickly and easily and get to a grade 9 in paper 1 question 5. So creative writing needs you to do 3 things that most students don't do, but which are surprisingly easy. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you an easy 4-step formula to think of ideas in less than 2 minutes, so you never lose marks for writing too little. So here they are. The 4-step method is called the 4 W's. Who, what, why, and where. So the who is a character, a person. You don't need much information about them. All you need is a name, you need what they do, and you need one word describing their personality. So I've put down here an example, Bob, who is a student in year 11 and is arrogant. Then you need a plot. Now a plot needs to be a problem. Every good story is about a problem the character could have. Think about the kind of character you just imagined. What problem could that person face? Well, Bob might have lost his coursework the day before it was due. That's a problem for a year 11 student. Okay, why? That's more of the plot. The reason they had this problem, or the problem started. Well, we said he was arrogant, so maybe he was overconfident and he didn't bother checking that he'd saved his work correctly. Where? Well, by now, the where is going to be obvious. It's going to be in Bob's home and in school. Once you've got the 4 W's, which should take you less than 2 minutes, you can plan the 3 parts of the story. The beginning is the background, so it makes sense to the reader. So you say who Bob is, what he's like, you give some background description of what's going on. The middle is the climax, the main problem. So this is when he realizes that he's lost his coursework. And the end is the outcome. What happened at the end and why does it matter? And you go into the emotions more. But the main thing you do in this example is the ending would be what actually happened. Did he find his coursework or not? Did he fail or not? And how did he feel about that at the end? And why do we as readers care? And make sure you have a nice summary that really rounds things off in that way, and don't rush the ending. A tip you could use, by the way, is write the ending and then save some space in the middle. And if you have time at the end, go back and write another descriptive paragraph somewhere in the middle. That way you always make sure you've got a good ending that so many students miss out. If you're doing a descriptive question where they give you a picture or ask you to describe something, you should still make it a story. The best descriptive writing tells a story about the thing you're describing. I saw a grade 9 exemplar recently where the student had to describe a picture of an old man. And they made up a story about the old man, how he used to be successful in business, then he lost all his money, then he became homeless, and how his life is now and how he feels about it. And that was way more interesting than just saying what he looks like. So, once you've done this, your plan is going to be very simple. You're going to write down the overall plot in 1 to 3 sentences, beginning, middle, and end, maybe 1 sentence for each, or even just part of a sentence, a few words would be enough. You can, if you want, an advanced tip that you don't have to do, is to change up the order. So you could write the middle first, or the end first, and then you put a number so you know what order you're going to write them in. And also write down any special punctuation or vocabulary you want to use, and as you use it, tick it off or underline it so you don't have to go back. But remember, you can't plan out in so much detail precisely when you're going to use a semicolon and when you're going to use this word. It doesn't work. Just in general, you have the ones you've got to use and you tick them off. Now, you can also do this with techniques, okay? So remember that in this paper, section A, you read a story and it will have certain techniques that have been used in it. When you did questions 2 and 3, you had to analyse those techniques. So you should already have underlined them. So you have an easy memory bank of techniques. Go back and use the ones that they used in the text. It's an easy way to think of them. So here's point 2. Proven but simple techniques that examiners have to give marks for to help you improve your grade overnight. Now, examiners, firstly, are specifically told in the mark scheme they have to give you marks for using paragraphs or structure creatively. For example, an easy one you can do is a 1-sentence paragraph to create dramatic impact, or even a 1-word paragraph. You could also do reverse chronological order, where you start with the end of the story. You could do in media res, when you start with the middle. Or you could do a flashback or a flash forward. You only have to do one of these, but it means your structure is interesting and the examiners are going to give you those marks. The second thing they have to give you marks for is a range of punctuation. So what do you think? If you make all your punctuation 100% correct, are you going to get 100% of the marks? The answer is no. The answer is no. If that is an interesting fact to you, by the way, just like this video and press subscribe, because I've got more videos about how to maximize your marks in really all areas of English. So the truth is that they have to give you more marks if you use a range of punctuation. First one is semicolons. That's this little thing here. Looks like a colon with a comma underneath it. So these are used to join parts of a sentence that would make sense on their own, like this. Like I'm doing now. The teacher was explaining grammar, semicolon, the students were listening carefully. You could write both of those on their own as their own sentence. But in this one, the teacher was explaining grammar and the students were listening carefully. This bit, the second bit, is not its own sentence because you shouldn't start a sentence with and, so you use a comma. So if you want to easily include a semicolon, just think of two sentences that are kind of related, join them together, but don't use a connective, and that's all it is. You can also use them inside a list if the list is super long and each part of the list has got commas in it, like in this sentence here, but you really don't have to do that. The easiest one is just to join together two sentences. Then we have colons. Now you'll probably know that you use them before a list, but you can also use them before an explanation or a definition, like this. He was the most ugly man I'd ever seen, colon, his face looked like a rotten tomato. So that second part of the sentence explains why he was the most ugly man. A hyphen is not really punctuation, it's a small line like this. It's used to join together words like can opener. But a dash, and it's important you know the difference, is a longer line, so on Google Docs it doesn't write a dash automatically, so I put two hyphens, but you'd write a long line with no gap. So a dash is used to join unrelated sentences or parts of a sentence. It can also be used to show someone's hesitating in their thoughts, like this. I think, I'm not sure. And you can join together two things. I'm very happy, she is not happy, with a dash. Finally, ellipsis, so 3 dots, it's always 3. The ellipsis is used to show a long pause, often in speech or in thoughts. So if you use one of each of those, you'll get way better marks for your spelling, punctuation and grammar, which is 16 out of the 40 marks available for this question anyway, so it's pretty important. Okay, the last thing I'm going to tell you about is how to easily write amazing descriptions without having the best vocabulary. And this method makes it so easy you hardly have to think about it during the exam. And the method is to memorize a descriptive paragraph or two before you go into the exam. Now, can you memorize a whole story? No, because you don't know the topic of the story and the question. But can you memorize one paragraph that is mainly description or only description that you can use in most stories? Yes. And I recommend doing 2 because you might want different moods, one optimistic and one pessimistic, and you choose which one to use depending on the story you end up writing. Now this paragraph you can really practice and make it almost perfect. You can get feedback on it, you can talk to your teacher or a tutor, and make sure as well you're using good vocabulary in this paragraph. Now, it is important to understand, though, that the examiners are told to look for appropriate vocabulary that actually makes sense and sounds good. Just using long words doesn't automatically get you better marks if you've used those words in a way that is weird or has the wrong tone or the wrong effect. So make sure that you get feedback on whether you're using the vocabulary in an appropriate way. So those are my 3 tips. To recap, number 1, an easy 4-step formula, the 4 W's. It lets you think of ideas in 2 minutes or less. Number 2, a shortcut for thinking of techniques. That's part of number 1. You can use that shortcut to think of techniques by using the techniques from section A. Number 2 is a proven, simple method that examiners have to give marks for, and they have to give marks for using structure, such as a 1-sentence paragraph, and for using a range of punctuation like colons and semicolons. And point 3, how to easily write amazing descriptions. The way you do that is by memorizing a descriptive paragraph you can use in the exam. Hope that was helpful. Remember, you don't have to be creative to do well in the creative writing question and to get a grade 9 or even to get full marks. Absolutely is not necessary. All you have to do is follow a clear method and understand exactly what the examiners are looking for. So, if you found this useful, just hit that subscribe button. I've got more videos on other areas of English, and I will see you very soon.